Well, good evening. Welcome to tonight's live. Today is Sunday. What day is it? Sunday, October 20th. So yeah, this month's going by pretty fast. There's a lot of beautiful market movement going on, especially in the world of futures and crypto. As you can see, we just hit 69K today in Bitcoin and NASDAQ is rallying. So we're going to go over some key levels that we are pretty much hitting right now in NASDAQ, and also my outlook for the week. I'm extremely bullish for this week coming up because we just broke through, as you can see right there on my chart, the daily and the weekly fair value gap. But before we get into that, we're going to go over some market news. So for today's Sunday, what do we have? We have nothing here for red folder news for Sunday. Moving on to Monday, tomorrow, we have a very calm Monday actually. So I'm not really expecting much movement. We do have a German PPI, but that's still yellow folder. Tuesday, we have one red folder. That's going to be the GBP. This is during the New York session, actually 5 minutes before the New York session opened. So that's what we have, GBP red folder, 5 minutes before New York open. Looking at Wednesday, we have CAD 15 minutes after New York open, AD again in New York session, and then GBP in the afternoon of New York session, right before Asian session, and what is the Australian session, which doesn't even exist, but it's technically there. Thursday, we're looking at Euro red folder during London session. We had GBP during London session as well towards the end. USD an hour before New York open, and then 15 minutes after New York open, USD again. Friday, we have CAD an hour before New York open. That's pretty much it for this coming week. Not a crazy week, honestly. Very calm week coming up, but I will see a lot more movement when it comes to crypto. You're going to see crypto's going to be doing some crazy moves. So yeah, let's go on to all right, so you can see right here on my chart, we are on the daily, but if we go into the weekly, you're going to see on the weekly, we did close over the 50% mark, and then we wicked above it as well, and we closed above the 50. Right now, we are priming for this weekly candle to continue the trend upwards to seek this all-time high. So all-time high is right there, around 21,213, 21,214. But if we go down to the daily time frame, right, you're going to see it's a lot more clear for us. I had this bearish fair value gap over here that overlaps with these fair value gaps over here that are bullish to make this an inverted fair value gap. Now, price action did reject off it right over here on the 26th of September. But as you can see over here on the 9th of October, it started trying to break through it, was unable to until the 14th. Right, last Monday, broke through here, closed above it, and then dumped right back, gained some liquidity, and now it's coming right back again. So right here at the 50% mark, you do see a candle closure right over here. This is on Friday's close, and we're opening over here, trying to seek these buy side liquidities. So you have one over here at 25.95, so it's 25.94.50, but round up to the nearest dollar, and then you have another buy side liquidity right over here. We can mark those out actually. We're gonna mark those out because that's where I feel like price is going to seek. All right, cool. We have those marked out. Let's see how price action looks like on the 4-hour, because right now we're just trending upwards. Look at all these fair value gaps that are being left over, but there's just so much bullish momentum. Here was nuts. If you caught this, oh man, that was textbook right there. Tapped into it and then continuation to the upside. All right, going down into the 4-hour time frame. 4-hour time frame, what do we see? Bearish, right? We're seeing this candle that's closing right above the 50% mark, and it's seeking that. It's seeking to break through it. There's a fair value gap over here, which overlaps to this fair value gap. So in theory, this is the inverted fair value gap right over here. So what I'm going to do is focus on here. We have candle closure above, which we didn't, right? This is just under it by a little tick, as you can see right there. These closed above it though, so that should have invalidated it. But there's also another fair value gap over here. In reality, it should be right here. Price action swept it, but no candle closure above it. So we want to get a confirmation by getting a candle closure on the 4-hour right above it. Once we get a candle closure right above it, we can then feel comfortable that it's going to seek the next buy side liquidity, which is right over here. First one at 2659.50. Then the second one's going to be right over there at about, where is it? Yeah, 2680. Keep an eye on that, guys. Set your alerts. I'm going to set an alert right over here. 25.30 32. Once it breaks through there, I'm going to be looking for a long position, seeking the buy side liquidity, the closest buy side liquidity to us. We are bullish momentum. I feel comfortable getting into a nice long once we cross this and we get confirmation with a 4-hour candle closure. Moving on, let's go into gold. Close this out. Man, gold is freaking crazy. Let's unlock this. New all-time high. New all-time high just dropped. We got to that key level, which is this buy side liquidity right over here. Rejected off it initially, but then it just completely shattered it and broke through. What I see now for gold on the daily, it's extremely bullish. We had this inverted over here, which it filled, tapped into it, continuation to the upside. That would have been nice though if we would have caught that. We did mark that out in the live though. We did mark that out. So if you guys had the proper risk management, we should have been the previous candle, and then you target 2 to 1. That would have hit. That would have hit really well. All right, what do we see? We see this little gap over here. Nothing else. This has a fair value gap as well, but I want to draw my fibs. So we're going to draw my fibs from the market structure low, which is right over here, to where we're currently at. And then as you can see there, the 0.62 overlaps with this little gap over here. So this is where we're going to be looking for an entry. So let's check this out. This area right here overlaps with the 0.62. So this is where I'm going to be looking at for an entry. We're going to set an alert right over here. We're looking at 2705.2 or 2705, just to round up. We set alerts on that, and then we're going to be looking for a bullish position. It's going to look something like this, right? We want to target 2 to 1, something like that. Going down to the 4-hour, what do we see in the 4-hour? Pretty much the same thing. On the 4-hour, we do have this fair value gap that's right over here. Market structure is going to be right here. Let's draw our fibs. And even then, the 0.62 pretty much overlaps with this area that we're looking at here. Not so much this area up here where we have the fair value gap. There is a fair value gap that overlaps with the equilibrium at 0.5. So that's good to make a note of it. That's at 2713.8. So 2714 pretty much. Keep an eye on that. But our optimal entry is going to be right here in this area on this daily fair value gap, 2705. Moving on to silver. Daily. On the weekly, super bullish. On the daily, even more. Remember, the all-time high for this is at some absurdly high, 64.77. We have all that to go. We're at 33.95 right now, which is a good number actually. It's a very, very good number. Blue line over here is at this market structure here at the top of this candle. This is a bearish fair value gap over here on the monthly candle. So if this closes out above it, it invalidates that, and then this thing is just gonna take off and pump. On the weekly, same. We broke through these market structures over here, these equal highs. We broke through this buy side liquidity, and we're opening here for the next week. What else do we see? I mean, the closest thing. I mean, this kind of doesn't count yet. This is not a fair value gap yet until this candle closes. So we had here where it broke through this fair value gap and then started using that as a support. This is on the daily. 4-hour, we do see some entries here in the 4-hour. This is the market structure over here. We're going to use this wick over here as the low, and then you're going to see this green line here. This 0.62 overlaps with one of these fair value gaps over here. You also have this order block here. So I would do my entry like right here where it says 0.70. So right there with the order block overlaps with this fair value gap. That's how I would see an entry. So something like this. And the target 2 to 1. That's about it that I see. I don't really see too much going on the daily. Setting an alert right over here, making sure I get in on this. Boom. Moving on to euro. Euro weekly, kind of ranging. You guys see that, right? But losing volume. So buy side liquidity is right over here at 1.13065. And then we got this market structure that closed right beneath that buy side liquidity. So it's kind of losing volume. It's losing momentum. We have a fair value gap over here. Bearish fair value gap. Technically don't have the market structure. Waiting for it to break through here and closes for the market structure shift. But if we're looking for an optimal entry, we have equal highs over here. Red's relatively equal highs. We'll draw our fibs from the market structure high, which is right over here, this buy side liquidity, to where we're currently at right now. And you're going to see the optimal trade entry. The 0.705 overlaps with this fair value gap here perfectly. So that's the area that I would be looking at in order to get an entry. So I'm going to set an alert over here. This area is 1.1131. What else I see? Not this one here, because that's not really an optimal trade entry. You want to stack as many confluences as possible. That's actually right before the equilibrium, so it shouldn't be a high quality trade. Not to say that it won't hit. Sometimes it actually does just hit the equilibrium and then continues, but we're looking for the optimal trade entry, the OTE, right? That's usually a nice little added confluence for us. Moving on to GBP. All right, did it tap into it? It was just shy of the 0.62. So what we were waiting for was the retracement to the 0.62, tap into it, and then the continuation to the upside. Now it could still it could still pull back, touch it, collect liquidity, and then pump up. But for now, it's sitting right above it. So we got to see what's going on. Fair value gap is inverted right over here, closed above it. That's a bearish fair value gap on the daily. That's at 1.3030, and it's actually closed out too. So that one's confirmed. And then we go down to the 4 hour, you're gonna see there's an even bigger fair value gap over here, and price is not closed above it. The moment price closes above this, we are very, very bullish, but for now we're still trying to break that fair value gap and push right through it. Yeah, so I'm not gonna really be bullish until candle closure happens right over here at 1.3067, and then we're gonna be seeking this buy side liquidity. Next is gonna be over here 1.3114, and then this market structure, and then so you got like 4 different buy side liquidities pretty close to each other. There's not much else going on, right? There's not like a huge fair value gap. This has been tapped into and mitigated. So like in theory, it should continue all the way up to here, to this fair value gap here on the 4 hour, which is 1.3219. So like in theory, that's where it should go. It's like, oh, take that off the charts. Yeah, that's where it should go. Cool. So we're waiting for confirmation on the 4 hour. I'm going to set an alert right over here. That's at 1.30. Going into JPY. What do we see in JPY? Tapped into it. On the daily. That was on the 4 hour, excuse me. Now we're on the daily, so I'm expecting to see where we're at right here. This is a really nice entry actually, right? So we're extremely bullish. We came back to a fair value gap that we had. This fair value gap should be right exactly at the equilibrium. Like I'm eyeing it out right now. Yeah, so it's right the equilibrium, between the equilibrium and the 0.62, which is the golden pocket. So it's a nice area. It's beyond the equilibrium, so that's what you want. Right before the golden pocket. It's not perfect. It's not going to hit exactly every single time. It does a lot of times though. It's very scary how like precise that is. Like a lot of times it does hit the exact 0.62 or the exact 0.705. This time, not so much. So that's why we got to zoom in, right? So boom, over here, tapped into it, mitigated, collected its liquidity, and it looks like it's going to continue upward, just like we projected. Now, as you can see there, boom, candle closure, closing above this. Fair value gap here, fair value gap there, that's inverted. I want this candle closure to completely close. We have an hour and a half. That's going to be on the 4 hour candle. Once that closes above this little area here, I know that this has been completely mitigated, and then we're good to go seeking longs. So we're seeking this buy side liquidity here, and the next. For the full take profit, I'll probably put it at this buy side liquidity, because that's also, this buy side liquidity is the 0.5, which is the halfway point of this fair value gap, right? To see. And then even then, that's actually a really good position. So let's say it closes right here. Let's see what this looks like. We should be out in a 2-to-1 ratio. So let's say right here, over here to be aggressive, and then 2-to-1 right before that buy side liquidity, right? So we'll tap into one buy side liquidity and then try to seek out the next buy side liquidity. Yeah, that looks like does it look like on the 15? Honestly, on the 15 minutes already closed above it. Left the fair value gap right down here. You can probably get in pretty tight on the 15 minute actually. That's up to you guys. This is a point of interest. We're breaking through it. On the lower time frames, we confirmed we've broken through it. On the higher time frame, which is the 4 hour, we still need about an hour and some change, right? So I am looking at it as being very bold. I do feel confident that it's continued going up. But wait for your confirmations, right? An hour and 28 minutes is left for that 4 hour candle. So we can feel extremely comfortable getting into that position, that long position. And that's pretty much it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me on tonight's live. I'll be here, same time, same place next week, Sunday. So hopefully you guys have a great, beautiful, profitable trading week. Bye for now.